Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Hi,
I'm Kelee.
I'm Rebecca.
This is Stop the Internet podcast, everyone.
Hi, heels on my tippies. Pink Friday 2 came out last week. Hi, heels.
I need to listen to it fully and do an album review.
Yeah.
If you're a stan, you know that we love Nicki Minaj.
In this house.
Nicki is my mood for the new year, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about New Year's, not resolutions, but just like vibes.
Yeah. We love New Year's vibes. Like, we live for vision boarding.
Yes.
And goal planning.
Yes.
Do we do it? Maybe not. Just kidding.
It is so funny to like think about what you want in life and then to actually like write it down.
Yeah.
And make a vision board. It takes work. And it's also hard. I feel like I've noticed that it's really easy to think of like what you want in life, like an overall, but then to think about the steps that are actually going to lead you there. I'm like, what step do I even need to take? Like, I have no idea. I feel like that was my number one problem in life from the time that I was like a sophomore in college up until like basically until I started this podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what I want to feel. I know kind of what I want to do, but what's the first step?
Mm-hmm.
And then you know how you always see like gurus and they're like, work really hard every day and then your dreams will come true. It's like, but what is the work that I need to do? Like what task do I need to work hard on?
Yeah.
And I think that's hard.
It's very hard because let's say you want to write a book. People would be like, oh, write 5 pages a day. And then in a year, you have a very long novel.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to write 5. You could write 1. But it's hard. I mean, I guess I can only speak for my goals, which are mainly creative, at least as it pertains to work. And it's very hard to be creative every day. Like you have to push through some mental barriers. And I mean, it's hard to do any job any day. Like I'm not saying it's the hardest job in the world to be creative, but like it just requires a very specific side of your brain to tap into every single day. So if your job is creative, like your job, and then your life's passion is to write a book, you have to turn on that side of your brain like 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's impossible for me.
It is so hard. I agree with literally everything that you just said. Ugh. And it's hard to like stay productive when you can't just do something that's easy. Like not that there's jobs that are easy, but like...
But I know like
if my job today was like to move boxes, I'll say like move like small boxes from like one room to another room. Like I feel like, that still does take like motivation and you need to have discipline to do it. But at least you know like exactly what to do. Yeah. I think sometimes especially when you work in a creative field or when you're like trying to make life changes or move up or level up, and honestly any aspect of life, but especially creative careers, it's like, what do I even do? Like what box do I pick up first and where do I put it?
Oh my God, I love that metaphor. Let's go.
I've been speaking in metaphors so often recently. I love it. And then I look at like the text that I just sent and I'm like, and what was the reason for that? You could have just said exactly how you feel, but you use this weirdo metaphor.
Because you're creative.
Yes, I'm trying to be.
I agree with that.
I really feel that way about vision boards though, because like, well, to give a background about what we're talking about today before we like jump in, we're just going to kind of go through like a couple different stories in a couple different like categories of life and try to view them through like a New Year's, like quote unquote New Year's resolution lens. Yeah. And like how we would think of these things with like a refreshed mindset or like starting new.
Right. I think that's important.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was like when you think about like vision boards or like my goal, my New Year's resolution, I feel like people think in like, at least I do this, I think in these like big ideas and it's like, I want to make at least this amount of money. I want to go on like all these trips. And then I don't know, it's like, how are you actually going to achieve that? Because that's the thing that you need to write down in your book and your journal. That's what you need to like put on your vision board. And you can't just jump from like, I want 1 million subscribers.
Right.
Because like, what are you doing to get to 1 million?
I just feel like that's like the new wave of New Year's resolutions over the last few years. Like when we were growing up, I feel like it was very much like lose weight or
oh my God, I know.
Travel more, like those things you were like those big ticket items. And now the last few years, I feel like what's been happening is people are like aware of not only is that unrealistic, but it can be kind of harmful because you're setting yourself up for failure most times.
Yes.
If you're like, I'm losing 20 pounds this year. And then at the end of the year, you're like, what if you're the same? What if you're heavier? Like, you're just going to be so hard on yourself about that. So now I feel like the new wave of I keep saying new wave, but trend of New Year's resolutions is like to make these small goals. Like, instead of saying you want to travel the world, be like, I'm going to go to one new country and here's what I'm going to do every day to save up $5 to be able to go there. Yeah. Instead of like, I'm going to travel and I'm going to go all the way around Europe and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day. Like, January 1st, it's like, okay, calm down. Like,
yes. I do feel like people used to tend to want to like change their entire life in like one day.
Yeah.
Going from December to January, like, I'm a new person. It's like, realistically, that doesn't happen. And I feel like it's really interesting to think deeply into like logistics and like what actually goes into success, like however you want to see success or like reaching a goal, whatever it is, like especially if it's in business or like I really tend to think towards creative goals. So like if I'm thinking about this podcast, it's like really easy to be like, I really want 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year or something like that. But then to think about like what goes into that, like what do I have to do? I have to create really quality content. I have to stay consistent. What am I going to talk about? When am I going to record it? When am I going to edit it? Like so many little things go into it. And like that's even true with like your favorite content creator. Like they didn't just wake up one day and think like, yeah, today, well, not think, like they didn't just wake up one day and have it. You know, all the things that go into it is so interesting. Like even like launching a brand, like launching a clothing brand. Yeah. It takes so much work and it's so interesting thinking about just like all the little things you need to do. Like if you want to launch it in 3 months, what is every single thing that needs to be done in those 3 months? It's going to be 1 million things. Yeah. And then you think about like, what do I need to do in the next 2 months to be able to launch in 3? And then the next 1 month to be able to launch in 3 or get there in 2. And then like thinking backwards, you're like, okay, I need to get the next like certain things done in 2 weeks. And then it's like, what are you going to do tomorrow? Right. To start? Like, it's just so interesting. But I do think that's like how you need to think about things like going forward and just think like, I just think thinking about things in small steps and realizing that there's going to be a ton of small steps works for me the best. Me too. Like this year I made a vision board, but I didn't, normally I would have like written out goals. And not that visual aids are any less valid, I guess, but like in my eyes, I'm like, okay, this is an aspirational thing that I'm going to look at every day because it's what I set as my wallpaper. But if I don't like do everything that's happening in these pictures I found on Pinterest, like I will live. Like for me, it's just like, oh, this is aspirational for me to look at. But like for some reason, I don't know, like writing it down sometimes, I'm like, oh God, like this is looming over my head versus a vision board. I'm just like, this would be nice, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah. It's also, I think, like less about, I mean, I could be wrong, but how I see vision boards is like sometimes less about I want exactly this and more about I want to feel how I think this would feel. Yes. Kind of thing. Exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm going to make mine probably like next week. So I have it set and ready for Jan 1st. Let's go. I also need to make one. But it's so hard because I'm like, what do I even put on it? Yeah, like, I know. And we are both creative people that every other day we're like, we should do this. We should do this. Like so many things. And I feel like that's really hard for a lot of creative people. I was talking to an older friend of mine and this was like leading up, I think, to launching the podcast. We were FaceTiming and I was telling her about the podcast and she was like, my brother's really similar to you. Like he's so creative and I watch how his brain works. And it's like you have so many ideas. Yeah. But then it's hard for a creative person to actually take the physical steps steps of doing things. And obviously that's why like businesses have teams. Like you have the creative team and then you have the strategy team, and usually they're not the same.
Right.
So that's definitely something that I struggle with, because I'm like, so many things that I want to do and like so many dreams and ideas and like I want to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, but I don't even have the skill to like film that and have it be at the level that I want it to be. And I think that's a really hard thing for me, because I have these visions of like content I want to create or videos I want to make. But then I'm like, I have this amount of video skill. I have this amount of like editing skill. And I'm like, I wish I could just be like the director and have like a team. But it's like, you don't just have a team overnight. You have to like work towards that. So I feel like that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm trying to like take it slower. And then also like on top of that, like all these dreams that you have, you're like, well, I still need to like do my job today.
Right.
And it's so hard to have a job that you might even still love your job, your current job, but still want to do all these other things. And it's like the balance, it's so hard.
It's so hard because then there's no time for rest, which is also important.
Yeah.
And one thing about me, I love rest. Okay. I love taking a break. So it's just like, I'm not giving that up. But when you listen to these motivational podcasts, people are like, well, when I was starting my blog, I had my job, and then also to like make ends meet, I bartended, and then I would come home at 2 a.m. and I would blog without fail every single night. And I'm like, see, I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah,
I'm just not doing that. Like, I'm not giving up sleep every night, or giving up social plans, or giving up like, I don't even know, an hour. Well, I would give up that. I was going to say television, and that's like dumb.
I'd give up an hour of TV.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I'm like, every night you're coming home from a job and then another job, and then you're still doing your passion project.
I actually have like a perspective on that someone else gave me. I went out to a bar when I was like 22, and I met this guy who was like... He was like a millionaire from New York, but he refused to tell me his job. Like, we were like pressing him.
We've all met those.
And no. This guy was like very humble, actually, and like did not want to tell. He was like, oh, I work in New York. Like, I work in finance. And we're like, oh, well, what do you do? He's like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, I just work in... He didn't give any details. I probably talked to him for like hours before he like gave me like any details about what he does. And eventually, like, I think we started talking to him because maybe it was his friends. Like, him versus the guys he was with were just so different. Yeah. So maybe it was one of his friends that was like, oh yeah, his bonus last year was $2 million. Like, just the bonus.
Wow.
And I think maybe that's how we started talking, and we were like, how? What do you do? Like, tell me everything kind of thing. So he was pretty young too, like in his mid to like late. He was probably like 27 when I met him. Yeah. So I start like grilling him about business. I'm like, what do you do? Like, he wouldn't give me a ton of details, but the number one thing he said was, if you want to be successful, you need to read. And all of the like extremely successful, like, I shouldn't even say successful. I should say, this term that people use, fabulously wealthy. So the Warren Buffetts of the world, the Elon Musks, like, so it's a very like specific group of people that I think he's referring to, but we didn't exchange numbers, but he gave me his email, or he took my email. I forgot. He was like, I read so much, and I think that's what gets me to where I am now. And he read 81 books the year before, and he said, I have an email list, and every year I send my end of year recap of all the books I read, which ones meant the most to me, like which ones moved me the most, taught me the most. And he had all these different categories, and he's like, I'll send it to you if you're serious about like wanting to be successful. And I was like, fuck. I was like, we went from like party vibes to like, what's your email? Right. So he sent me the list. And these are not just like Twilight, like
I figured.
These fictional books that like trend, like The Summer Turned Pretty. I mean, those are children's books, but they're not even like fiction. None of them were fiction. I think maybe one out of like 81. The other ones were like biographies, like life stories, books about how to succeed in business, like all of these things. I'm like, these are not easy reads. And he said he goes home after work and he reads. Like, he doesn't go out. Well, I guess he goes out sometimes because he was out when I met him, but he doesn't go to the bar, happy hour after work. Like, he will go home and read. And so I was emailing him back and forth. Oh yeah, in his email, he was like, also, like, to follow up our conversation, I'll ask you, like, what is your favorite book you've ever read? What's the most influential book you've ever read? Or like, what book means the most to you? And all these don't have to be the same. And I was like, wow, those are amazing questions. And I was not a big reader at the time. I still am not. I love an audiobook, but like it is so difficult to get yourself to sit down and literally read like Rich Dad Poor Dad from start to finish. Like I hate to be dramatic. It's like torturous. Like I hate it.
Is that a self-help book?
It's yeah, you could label it as
or
that.
Like business book.
Yeah, it's like how to get rich basically.
See, that is torture for me. I read a lot, but it's a fiction, sometimes a memoir, mostly fiction. Like I'm not into the
I love reading fiction because it's like fun.
Right.
But anyway, I remember I emailed him back, and this was like the beginning of my photography career, and I was like, here's a few books that like I liked. I forget what my answers were, but then I was like, it's interesting because like you fill so much time with reading. Like I tend to fill time with practicing my craft, which is like editing photos, like reading about photography, like watching videos about how to better that. And his answer was so good. He was like, that is totally fine. Like you do not need to read, but you just need to accept that if you don't do this, you're not going to get to this level. And I was like, that is such a good answer because I can do whatever I want. I don't have to read. I do not have to like watch Warren Buffett's speeches and read all these like books about making money and like getting to the top and yada, yada, yada. Like nobody has to do that. But you shouldn't then sit around and hate on other people who are higher than you because they gave themselves the information. Yeah, exactly. Like they gave up the happy hours. They gave up like the weekend long trips so that they could sit in their house and read about making money and then get to the point where you work in finance in Manhattan and your bonus was $2 million when you're 27. Yeah. And I was like, that's a great point. We are all in control of our own actions. And one more thing that he said, I think this was in his email. Yeah. I could like pull this up also and like read it word for word if anyone's interested. But
bonus episode.
Yeah, bonus episode. He also doesn't have social media, but like doesn't spend time on social media. But his email address matched the name that he told me. Anyway, he said that when he was in college, the way that he wrote too was like so beautiful almost. Like he didn't just write like the way that we talk. Yeah. He wrote very well. And he wrote, when I was a young kid, like in college, dreaming about being successful, something along those lines, I watched a video of Warren Buffett, of course, giving a talk to college kids. And one of them raised their hands and said, how do I become fabulously wealthy? He said, read 100 pages a day and you will become fabulously wealthy. All of you can, but none of you will. And I was like, shit, that is so true.
It's also though like about your like what you value. Like if you value making millions of dollars a year, then you should do those things.
Yes, 100%.
But I feel like I wouldn't want to give up social media, my friends, happy hours. Like I would want to get further along than where I am now, but I don't need to be making that much money.
See, that's
if it means sacrificing a lot in your life.
But that was like the whole point. Yeah. Is like you don't have to do any of this. Like you don't have to make a vision board. You don't have to set goals. And if you do those things, you don't have to set the same goals as like that guy at the bar. You know, you can do whatever you want, but just remember that the choices that you're making, for the most part, like a lot of people have like outside factors that you can't control and like privileges you're born into or you're not born into, like whatever. But for the most part, the choices that you make decide what happens next in your life. And like, you don't have to make any decision. If you're not into it, don't do it. But just don't complain when you don't get a different outcome, I guess is the point.
No, I agree with that. I just think there's a balance. Like
100%.
Would I like to be making millions of dollars? Of course.
Yes.
But am I going to give up my life in order to do so? No.
Yes. And then that's exactly why I'm like, I don't even think I'm at the level of talking to this man. Yeah. Like you are so far beyond like what my brain even comprehends.
I know. That's so interesting though, because is he happy? Like he has all this money, but does he have amount of friends he wants, or like does he see his family? Does he have a girlfriend?
He was very, very hesitant to talk about money. So I don't even think he values money. I think he values knowledge and like being able to say that like that's where he got to.
No, yeah, that's true. Everyone has different like definitions of happiness, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to say like successful people. Like, everyone is successful. We are successful. Like I feel successful. You can be successful if you get a job working part-time at a store, if that's what you truly want to do. Like it doesn't have to be like millions of dollars, but that's just a different level of like, I don't want to say success. It's like wealth, basically. All those people care about is money.
Right.
But the point is like, don't look at those people and be like, dang, like I'm just out here like at the bar with my friends, because that's a choice that you wanted to make for yourself because that's what would bring you joy that day. And like other people are like, what would bring me joy is reading so that I can make another million next year. Yeah. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll never forget that man, though. I wish I could say his full name right now, but I'm not going to.
Say it after.
Okay. Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Something to mull over.
I feel like the moral of the story, though, is you decide what is successful and what success is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And it's ever changing, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the dream that I used to have compared to the dream that I have now is like, it's so funny. Like what I used to like dream about, like daydream about. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's so funny how things like that change.
We're ever evolving humans.
Yes, facts.
Okay.
So as long as I make $80 billion in the next calendar year, I think I'll be happy.
Same. I won't say no if anyone out there is willing.
Yeah.
Here's my Venmo.
Yeah, if you want to Venmo us or Cash App. Anyway, should we get into any stories, categories?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we start with friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I was on fire for you.
Okay, our first category, friendships. I do think most of the topics that we picked are going to be about personal relationships, whether it's friendships, dating, family. Like, I just think that plays a huge role in my life. So it plays into my bias of like the stories that I pick, the topics that I talk about. And I just think that relationships are like everything in my life.
Yeah, me too. Which is why we'll never be billionaires.
Never say never, though. The world's first ethical billionaires, us.
Wait, that's a great brand.
Could you imagine? No. I think... Wait, sorry. One more thought about billionaires before I get into this. I think that people shouldn't be labeled a billionaire based off of just their current net worth. They should be labeled based off of all the sales they've done ever, because I think a lot of people at that level, they just want the title, but the title is what's keeping people from giving back, because if they give away $500 million, they're gonna be like half a billionaire. And they're like, oh, then I'm not gonna have billionaire status. Because I've heard that Dolly Parton has given away so much and given so much back to charity that if she didn't do any of that, she would have been a billionaire. But people don't look at her as this like business mogul, bad bitch, like killing it because she gave so much back.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should just put her on the list as like would have been if she was a bad person, or not bad person, but like if she was just a little more selfish.
Yeah.
And just didn't care about charity just a little bit less, like she would be at that level.
Put Dolly on the list.
Yes, put her on the freaking list. Okay. Am I the asshole for ending a friendship because my friend chose another wedding over mine? Yes, it's about a wedding, but I just feel like this topic is deeper.
I'm also, this is one of my fears, by the way.
Wow.
Like, you plan a wedding date and other people you're close to, even if it's just one person, has another wedding that day, or it has a prior commitment. I'm like, I think I need to save the date like now. And I'm not dating anyone, but this is my Capricorn energy coming out.
Set the date for like, what year is it? 2023? For like 2027.
Oh, that's nice of you.
5 years? Yeah.
That's ambitious.
Ambitious. You're a planner.
I was going to say 2041.
Okay, well, that would, and
anyway.
it would still be amazing.
Thanks.
You know?
Yep.
I do fear that, though, with some of my friends' work schedules. I'm like, are you going to be able to fly to Bora Bora for 2 weeks for my wedding?
I've already been there, so I won't be going.
Wait, you've been to Bora Bora?
Yeah.
Wait, you're kidding. Yeah. You've been to Bora Bora.
I wasn't trying to flex. That was a genuine joke.
Did I say I wasn't a billionaire? When did you go to Bora Bora?
2018.
With who?
My fam.
Did you stay at the Four Seasons, like the bungalow?
No, but we saw the bungalows from afar.
Did you stay on like the island?
So I took a cruise, which I'm hesitant to say because everyone knows I hate boats. But
maybe that's why I've never heard it. She's been lying by omission. Just kidding.
My aunt wanted, she like took me and my sister and my cousins on a cruise, a very nice cruise around Tahiti and like the islands. We went on the Patch, and like
what's the Patch?
For seasickness, you go on a medicated
The patch was like a boat. Like we went on it. Okay.
Oh no.
Got it.
I was still like so ill. So that's why I say I'll never do it again. But I'm glad I did it and I powered through for the sake of the crystal clear waters.
Did you go swimming?
Oh yeah. It was so beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing.
And the island is so lovely. The people are so nice. And you felt like you were just in a different world. Like you just... It's hard to imagine that those places exist because we're so far like removed from anything like it, but highly recommend.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal, the ship. I literally lost like 20 pounds because I just did not eat. I couldn't stomach anything. I ate like bread and pineapple.
Was it a big cruise ship, like Royal Caribbean vibes?
No, it was like it was actually very small.
Okay, and that probably makes it worse, right?
Yeah, and that's probably why it was pretty bad. And like halfway through, you have to switch your patch. Like the medicine like runs out, and I don't know what it is, like withdrawal or something from like those hours. It was just.
You can't put 2 on in the transition period? Wow.
It was something else, you guys. I felt like I've never felt that way, just in a daze.
Oh, that sucks.
And like nauseous, but not nauseous enough to like get sick, but just like
that's
nauseous.
Even worse.
Yeah. But like I said, it was so beautiful. Like I don't regret a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you pics.
Wow. So I guess I have to switch you stole my wedding country. Just kidding. I was never getting married in Bora Bora, but...
No, you should.
I definitely will be having a destination wedding. It's gonna be up in the air about where it is.
You should we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk over cereal.
Rebecca's dying to go to this diner and get dry cereal.
No, not dry. Milk on the side.
Oh, cold cereal.
The menu said cold cereal, $3.75. I'm like hyper fixated on it. Like
I was like, why don't you just eat some out of my cabinet? She's like, is it going to be $3.75? I said, you can pay for it if you want. And then I offered to make her hot chocolate and she said, for free?
I just want diner hot chocolate, you guys. Should we vlog the diner?
Yeah, maybe we bring the mics to the diner.
Bonus episode.
That would be funny.
That could be a fun series. Like chicken shop vibes.
What's that?
Do you watch Amelia? I forget her last name.
Definitely not.
Oh, she does celebrity interviews in a chicken shop.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I'll send you. She did
in the new year.
Maddie Healy.
Oh.
It was so funny.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway.
Anywho. What were we just talking about? Oh yeah, irrelevant. Destination wedding. Okay. Should we talk about friendship?
Yes.
Am I the asshole for ending a friendship because my friend chose another wedding over mine? Last year, I announced my wedding date and invited one of my closest friends, Sarah, as soon as I could. Sarah agreed as soon as she heard about it and assured me she would be there. We even planned events for the wedding together. Since then, Sarah has attended 2 other weddings, both of which she was informed about after my announcement. Now, Sarah has told me she won't be coming to my wedding. The reason? She wants to save her holiday time and money for another friend's wedding that's happening next year, easily 6 months out, and also announced much after my announcement. As she put it, making 2 trips would be exhausting and expensive. As an aside, all these weddings, including mine, are in the same city and cost the same amount of time and money to attend. The friend's wedding she's choosing to attend is a closer friend of hers. They've known each other their entire lives. So I get why she would want to prioritize her other friend, but I am still hurt. I was quite taken aback by her decision, especially since she had already attended these other weddings. If holiday time was such an issue, surely she could have planned around this, especially since she knew the date of my wedding much before any of the others. To me, it felt like a clear message about where I stand in her list of priorities. I always thought we were close, so this has been quite hurtful. Given this context, I don't really feel like spending my time and energy on her anymore, and I'm considering ending the friendship over what I perceive as a lack of consideration and respect for our friendship. But now I'm wondering if I might be overreacting.
So they're 6 months apart, the 2 weddings. And they're in the same city? Like they're not destination?
I kind of get the vibe that they could be like back to back. It's just a matter of like she doesn't want to go to this wedding.
I would definitely have a conversation with her first instead of cutting her out of your life. Like maybe try to open up the lines of communication there a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it might be like a messy fight. It might be like an argument, but I think to just cut her out, like this is what I don't agree with, when you just cold turkey like ice someone out, because that ain't cool. And I've done it. So I understand, But like in my adult life, I've tried to not do that as much, even if it's like a one-off situation, like just always trying to talk it out.
I think it's especially important if it's a one-off situation.
Yeah.
Like if you were close friends for years and everything was great and then one thing happened, that's a great time to talk to someone. I think if this is like a habit of hers and like for the past 2 years she's shown you how much she prioritizes you and this is just another one, I think that would be the time where you're like, okay, maybe that's when we like separate.
Yeah, I feel like I would like to know more context of this relationship. Like, is this something she does a lot?
Yeah.
I feel like that's important here. But it's always like looking at it through the New Year's lens, as we said we would do. I think it's always important to, not just in the new year, but it's like a good excuse to do it. Take stock of your friendships, I guess. And like, where do you stand? Where do you want to stand with people? Are there tough conversations you feel like you've been putting off that you would like to have? I think that's valid. And you don't want to waste a plate at your wedding if you don't have to.
That's a good point. I do think being honest, like especially about one-off things that you can name, are really important. Like recently I had an event and I gave everyone the date and someone in my life was like, yes, I can go. And I was like, amazing. And then like a week or two later, I was like, are you coming? I'm so excited to see you. And they were like, oh, actually, I can't come anymore. I was like, oh my God, what happened? My other friends are having an event that I'm going to. And I was like, okay. Yeah. It was like, I was so caught off guard. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know what to say. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. And then the conversation continued. And looking back, I'm like, I do wish I would have said like, oh, but you heard about that after? And then they would have been like, yeah, but like I have to go to that because of all these reasons. And I think just like looking at things from a perspective of I have to do this versus I want to do this.
Yes.
Is really just important to me. It's kind of like that saying, if they wanted to, they would.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with everything. Obviously, there's things we want to do that we can't. Mm-hmm. Like I want to fly to California to support my friend, but I don't always have the funds or something like that. But it's not that she can't go to your wedding. She wants to go to the other wedding more.
Yeah.
And that's
a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. And it definitely hurts sometimes. But I do think that exactly what the OP said, it's like, this is a good time to evaluate your friendship and see how she prioritizes you. And if she prioritizes something else more, like, yeah, tell her that you're hurt. But I don't think it would be dramatic to... Here's my thing. I don't think that you need to break up with her.
Right.
And be like, here's what's going to happen. You're not going to my wedding because you don't want to. You're prioritizing something else. Like, okay, that is just facts, black and white. I'm never going to talk to you again and we cannot be friends whatsoever.
Right.
Delete my number and unfollow me on Instagram. Goodbye. I don't necessarily think that's necessary. Like a lot of times, like just know where she stands with you and go from there, I guess. Yeah. If this is someone that you've been friends with for like a very long time, you know, tell her how you feel and then kind of just move on from it. Like she doesn't have to be your priority either, you know?
Yeah, you can reevaluate your own relationship with her.
Yeah.
But I agree, it doesn't have to be this hard line in the sand. Like, we're not friends anymore.
I feel like that's just a trend in these situations that I'm realizing. And I don't know if I understand it.
What do you mean? People wanting to just like end it so quickly?
Hard and fast, like we are not friends and like we have to have a conversation about it. I'm just thinking of a girl that is in my life that we were really close in the past and then we kind of just like drifted a little bit and we talked here and there for maybe like a year, I don't know, or two. Like when I would run into her, I would talk to her. We didn't ask each other to hang out. And the more we like just naturally drifted, I just realized in myself, I was like, yeah, I just don't really have the desire to hang out with her based on like all the evidence. Like she doesn't really ask me to hang out. I've gotten to the point where I don't even care to ask her to hang out. I don't dislike her. She's a wonderful person. If it was easy to see her, if I saw her at a party, yeah, let's talk. Mm-hmm. But we definitely did go from being very, very close to like, yeah, just less and less over time. I just don't desire to hang out with you. You don't fuel me. Sometimes when I leave, I wonder if you even like me, like that kind of thing. I don't feel that it's necessary for me to text her and be like, hey, just so you know, we're so clearly not friends. And just wanted to make that clear. I don't consider you a friend. I don't care what you consider me. I'm going to unfollow you. bye.
Yes.
I know that is necessary in certain situations.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times, like, friendships evolve, and sometimes they evolve to be tighter, and sometimes they evolve to be looser or more separate, and then they evolve and evolve and evolve into nothing. Like, unless you're dying for closure, I don't always think you have to have this, like, 100% black and white, we are not friends and I wanted you to know it, bye.
Well, I think, yes, when the two parties are on the same page, which is
okay, like, maybe that's what it is.
Your situation. Because I had a friend in high school, it was very similar to yours, where I really thought this person would be in my life forever. Like,
yes, I've had people like that.
Yeah, like I pictured her as a bridesmaid. I was like, there's no way we're ever going to grow apart. We grew apart within like 2 years of graduating high school.
It is so funny to like think about the people that you thought you were never going to grow. Like, there were certain people that if you told me you're not going to talk to them by the age of whatever, I wouldn't believe you.
I would have been on the floor sobbing. I'm not even kidding. But it just naturally happened. And we still saw each other, I would say, like once or twice a year for a while. And then the last, I would say, like 5 or like 4 years even, we just like really haven't talked at all. But it doesn't even make me sad because it was such a natural like thing.
Yeah.
No conversation necessary. We both just like went on our own paths. She doesn't really live near here either. Wish her so well, like great person. I think it's like in this situation when one person is clearly like, you're my best friend, and the other person is like, I don't see you that way, but we don't tell each other that. Like, we don't, or I guess more so on that person who doesn't see her that way. Like, she is like, well, I don't really see this person as my best friend, so why would I choose her wedding over this other person? And it's not something you can like tell someone.
Yes, I agree with that.
So then you just like silent or like subtly do these moves of like, I'm not gonna go to her wedding instead of saying it, because you can't say it. Like, you just can't say it.
I agree. But like, why does it have to be said? Like, that person that I was just talking about in my own life, like, I could just tell that she didn't have an interest in being friends with me.
Same with,
But like, I just figured it out based on how often she talked to me, like how often she asked me to hang out.
Right.
I just realized like, you're clearly not invested in the same way that we once were. Mm-hmm. And part of that hurt.
Yeah.
But I did come to the clarity by myself just from looking at it for what it is. Like, it doesn't really matter what people say or like what event you're invited to. Like, I think it would be easy to be like, oh, well, I was invited to her bachelorette, so she's my best friend. Those things don't really matter. It's more about like how you actually live your life and how your relationship actually is like every single day. And I just got to the point where I'm like, yeah, she didn't invite me to that. I wasn't invited to this. She chose that friend over me in this situation. And I just started realizing these things, and I was like, she's not a bad person. Like, she's fine. She's just living her own life, and I'm not the priority. I just realized that, and we just like naturally drifted. And I guess that could have been a situation where when she chose that friend over me, didn't invite me to that event, and like went on this trip with other friends and didn't invite me, like all these things, I could have confronted her and been like, all these things happened. We're clearly not friends. Like, let's just be over it. But I more just said that to myself.
Yeah, but maybe because it was over time.
Right.
And also like you at that point were secure in your own self.
Yeah.
As part of it.
Yeah. Like, I was gaining better friendships as I was like losing this one.
So maybe that's not the case here. And she's like, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, like doesn't have a lot of other friends, or like, I don't know, reaches out more, is always the one to reach out, like that kind of thing is happening. Yeah. So I don't know what the move is though. Like, I guess she would be the one to breach that conversation.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably what it is. It's like security and like clarity. Like, I just think that I gained clarity by myself, like in my own time.
Yeah.
Because I was creating better friendships that I'm like, oh, these people treat me like this. And then this other group, I'm like, and they treat me like that. And so it like happened together. I'm like, that is so good. And like, that's getting looser. It's getting like, it's trailing off. Like, I kind of realized them together, and like having both, I was like, oh wait, yeah, I shouldn't even really be upset about it. Like, it just naturally happened. Like, they're all great people. They're just not my best friends in life, and that's just what it is. I don't know where I was going with that. I guess I just think that like when things happen naturally over time and you are secure in other relationships, it helps you to just gain clarity on your own, because you don't need answers from them. I didn't need to ask her, don't you think I'm your best friend? Why aren't we best friends anymore? The why doesn't matter, especially if it happens over time. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. I think I'm realizing that if a solid thing happened, one event, I think, don't end a friendship over it, and maybe that's when you talk to them. But if things happen over time and it's like a gradual, like naturally life happens and I spend more time with these friends and they spend more times with those friends, like, no, I don't think we need to have a conversation about it and be like, by the way, not friends. Because I'm just like, I'm not friends with 7 billion people, but I don't need to have a conversation about it with them. I'm not friends with anyone from my high school, but I don't need to like write them a letter after graduation and be like, by the way, we're not friends. Thanks. Have a great life. Like, I do think the conversation comes when something is like hard and fast. It just happened, like this situation.
The wedding.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, I really just talked through that for myself.
We love it.
I'm realizing things. This is the year of like realizing stuff.
Yeah. Obsessed. Yeah. So have a conversation. Get back to us.
Yeah. I think you don't need to break up with her immediately. Yeah.
Immediately.
Think about too, like your level of friendship with this person. And it's almost like when you're dating around and like dating a guy or a girl and they're still seeing other people. It might get to the point where you're like, I want to only date each other. Like I want to be exclusive. It's making me upset. This is like where I want to be. Are you on the same page with me? And if they are not on the same page, that's like when you end it. You're like, okay, that's fine. You don't want an exclusive relationship. I do. Like we're going to go our separate ways. But then there's some times in your life where you're like, yeah, I am into just like dating around. I don't need the label. This is like the level of relationship I'm okay at staying at. And that might be different from like guy to guy or girl to girl. And I feel like it's the same with friendship, but a lot of people are scared to say it.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they'll come off as mean. But you need to think in yourself, like, what level of friendship am I okay with having with this person? The girl in this story. The fact is that she doesn't prioritize you as her closest friend. The wedding that she's choosing is somebody else's. Are you okay with that? She is not your closest friend, or you're not hers. Are you okay with being any level of friends with her? Is it best friends or nothing? Or can you exist in the middle?
Deep.
That's what you need to decide.
Something to think about.
If you can be happy existing in the middle, talk to her. Don't break up with her. If you cannot exist in the middle, sure, break up with her.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
We just solved all the world's problems with that.
I just talked for so long.
It's okay.
Okay, covered friendship.
Check. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Speaking of level of interest in our lives.
Okay.
This is a good transition. How long do you pursue a guy who doesn't seem interested? I like observing people around me and learning from their stories and experiences. I have a few female friends who are currently in very happy relationships where they had to actively pursue the guy even when he wasn't showing much interest in them at all. 2 examples I'll give. One of them progressed from texting him not engaging, planning a 10-hour train journey with him, directly confessing her feelings to him not even responding to this in person, and when all else failed, she directly made out with him. They're married now with a kid, and she says he's the best father and husband she could ask for. Another friend met a guy in her dance classes. She wasn't actively trying to get him to dance with her, but he was sort of avoiding her, not showing any interest, in her own words. In the end, she just went on and asked him out on a date. He was happy about it. They went out on a date where she initiated absolutely everything, and they seemed super happy together. I understand taking initiative and showing interest in someone, hoping he'll reciprocate your interest, but how do you continue on when the guy doesn't seem that bothered? I've been learning to be more proactive, showing interest in guys, but I can't deal with it when they don't reciprocate back. For example, I added one guy on social media after meeting in person. I try to make conversation about the things he's interested in, and he replies, but without showing much interest. But then I remember all these stories of my friends, and I wonder if I need to be more forceful about it. I can't imagine asking him out if he doesn't want to even hold a longer conversation with me. What do you think about this? How do you approach these situations?
I don't know, really.
Really?
I think some guys want to be chased, which I think is what maybe accounts for the first 2 people she mentioned. Like, some guys just want a girl to go after them like that. Maybe not a lot. I don't know. I don't know much about this.
I brought this story because I wanted to just talk about like chasing things endlessly when they're not for you.
I attract. Clearly not these bitches.
Yeah. Well, okay. The second girl, all she said was, I kind of think the OP is reading too far into it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one's problematic in my opinion. I would have let that guy go.
Me too.
But the second one, it's like, she's not chasing him. She shot her shot and initiated something one time, and then he did reciprocate it. So while, yes, she asked him out, that's like a one-time occurrence. And yeah, she initiated like making out with him. That's also a one-time, like that's all one. She shot her shot. It's not like it's like months of, will you go out with me? No. Or like ignoring your text.
And yeah, even if you do end up married, that's kind of embarrassing. No, like,
yeah, like I get that feelings change, but like we should never be asking people to love us.
Yeah.
Or like convincing people why they should date us and why they should like us.
Yeah. Eek.
I think people mix up like shooting your shot and being excited and interested in someone and like chasing them endlessly and pursuing them when you're getting nothing in return.
Yeah, because that's almost disrespectful to a certain degree.
I agree.
It could get into that territory very quickly.
Yes, I agree.
So you don't want to do that.
And also, why would you want someone that doesn't want you?
Because even if they're like, fine, I'll be your boyfriend, I'll go on a date with you, whatever it may be. I'm like, but that's what you had to get that?
Yeah, not the fine, I'll go out with you.
Like 6 months of pursuing endlessly, texting, and like, no, girl, no. Have self-respect.
I think there's also a feeling of like... so many people settle in relationships, and if they can't find anyone else, they're like, well, this girl's been throwing herself at me for the past 7 months, so she's good enough. She's better than nothing.
I've said this before. I think men go for the easier option.
And
sometimes it's the girl that just won't.
Honestly, I think everyone does that. I don't think it's just men.
No, oh yeah, but I shouldn't say that. Yeah.
But yeah, like psychologically, like I do think I think with men, this is totally like just things I've heard based off of like YouTube videos, like psychologists on TikTok, like all of that. So this might not be right, but I feel like I've heard that men like keep their options open more, and women are like set on one person and they really want that one person, and men are only like that when they like actually really, really want that one person.
Yeah.
I think men are more likely to like date around than women, I guess, too. So a woman, I feel like, is more likely to meet a man and be like, yes, I love him, I need him, he's everything. And a man is more likely to have like all these options and just pick, like you said, the easiest one or like the best one based off how he's feeling today.
Yeah. Oh God.
I do feel like I've heard that from like psychologists and like doctors that like study these things.
No, I definitely think that's true. And if you know, like, if you know a girl's just like been in love with you for 7 months and you're like at a point where you're like, I could settle down, like, you're gonna go for that girl. Like, it's just what you're gonna do.
Like men pick I've heard this and it's honestly kind of sad, but men tend to pick whoever is in front of them when they're ready for a relationship, and that's just sad. So if you have to like chase a guy like that, or I guess the example would be like, this guy talked to me for 7 months and said he wasn't ready for a relationship, but like 15 months later he's engaged, and it's like, yeah, well, maybe that's not a good example of that.
I get what you're saying. Like, I get what you're saying. When you're dating someone and they won't commit to you, and then you guys end things, and then 2 years later they meet a girl and they're engaged within 6 months.
Yes,
and you're
that's
like,
what it is.
You're convincing yourself of something like, oh, I was ugly, I was fat, I was blah 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 blah. It's like, no, she was just there in the right moment at the right time.
Yes,
for him.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
and I do think that's something men do and women don't do as much.
Yeah,
like men need to like have like. They need to like have their life together more, I think.
Yeah, I have heard that. Like statistically speaking.
Yeah. Whereas women will adjust their life for love, not the other way around.
Yes, I have heard that too.
Yeah.
And I think that's why women are more likely to like meet a guy. And I've also heard that women, also, this is all statistically speaking. Of course, there's anecdotal evidence of like, well, I'm a girl and I do this. Sure. That doesn't really matter when we're talking like trends.
Yeah. I
don't know. I feel like people, like, I don't want it to seem like I'm like attacking people when we say these things. Like,
no, I know.
So if you're a man and you don't do this, that's wonderful, but
go off.
Trends. But anyway, So I've heard that women fall in love with potential and then men fall in love with whoever she is right now. And I think that's why a lot of relationship issues happen, and why it seems that like women might be settling, or women might be asking so much of the man that they're with because they fell in love with who she thought he could have been if he just worked a little harder, got a little fitter, like, you know.
Yeah.
Did all these things like a little bit more. Like he could be really hot if he just wore nice clothes, went to the gym. He could be really great if he just spent a little more time with his family, like worked a little harder at his job. But none of those things are definitely going to happen.
Right.
But it's easy to get caught up in potential.
Yeah.
But I guess that's like unrelated to this story. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
It's an interesting conversation.
I think though that all of those things play a role in what happened with the second example this person gave. I don't think is problematic. That's just shooting your shot. That's just showing interest in someone and shooting your shot.
You should do.
Exactly. Yeah. If a man did the exact same thing, nobody would be saying he's pursuing a woman with no reciprocation. Like that was reciprocated because the person said yes. The first one, honestly, I kind of think it's problematic. Sure, they might be happy now, but I wouldn't want my like love story to be like, oh, how did you guys meet? Well, I liked him, but he wouldn't even give me the time of day. He was like using me when it was convenient and with all these other girls at this other point, but we wound up together and that's what matters. Like
after a year of nonstop DMing him.
Yeah, like you can convince anyone to like you if you try hard enough.
Exactly. Oh God.
So I don't know about the first one. And my perspective on the situation as a whole is you can shoot your shot with anyone, but be realistic and just read the room, take the hints that they're giving you.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't matter how much you like someone, it matters how they treat you.
Yeah.
So if you're obsessed with this guy and you're DMing him, asking him all these questions, trying to start conversations, okay, none of that matters because like in the story of your relationship, none of that matters because he doesn't want to talk to you. Take it for what it is and let it go. There's going to be someone that's dying to talk to you. And that's true in friendships, relationships, work, even like any relationship in life. Like you don't need to beg people to talk to you. There is going to be someone that would beg you to talk to them, but they're not going to need to because you guys are going to just vibe.
We're here for vibes. Yes.
Yeah.
Bam.
Relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be more intentional, thoughtful, and proactive in my relationships as a New Year's resolution. Like the title says, a change in my life I want to see next year revolves around my personality and how I treat people in my life. I want to be closer to the kind of person who thinks of something their friend would like and just drops it off on their porch. Who comes up with really good gift ideas, who sets up their friends and loved ones for success without them even knowing. So any advice around habits, practices, practical plans, and strategies for day-to-day interactions and kindnesses, etc. would be appreciated.
Aw. Well, I think your first step is I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Is like realizing that you want to do these things.
Yeah. So I think you're already one step closer than you think to being this person. So cute.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the gift giving one, because this is something I started doing a few years ago. Like I have a note in my phone of gift ideas for people. And I really try to like when people are like, oh, I saw this cool thing on Instagram and I really want it. Or like, I don't know, people don't really say that, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, people do say it.
Yeah, people just talk about like brands they like. And you have to have a keen ear for these things and just like write it down. It's, as simple as 1, 2, 3, girly.
Wait, that's such a good idea. I also have that too. The gift thing. And I started that a couple years ago because I was so bad at gifts, like horrendous at gifts. I couldn't think of one thing. So I did start writing down ideas, or anytime I would see a good gift idea, if it was in like June, I would write it down in my like, gifts for friends for, it's not just for Christmas, but that's when you typically buy people things. Anyway, I saw on like Instagram or TikTok or something, there was a girl, her number in her boyfriend's phone, like her contact, had notes in it about all her favorite places to eat and what her favorite order was from each of those things.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote it down, like every time she wanted something, he would write down her favorite things. Like you don't have to memorize everyone's favorite things all the time. Like, yeah, make yourself a note. Like if your friend, and wait, let me look in yours. Let me see.
Oh,
I'm going to pull it up. I definitely don't have anything. Sorry. Don't get excited. I've never done this, but,
I'm dying.
But I want to see like where you would add it. Let me see. Yeah, so you can add notes to it.
Yeah, I think I've done that.
In the contact. Yeah, on your phone. So just if they say, oh my God, I love Cheesecake Factory,
That
Literally
we do.
write it down on a random, like when she says it'd be like loves Cheesecake Factory. So then when her birthday rolls around, what are you leaving on her doorstep? A slice of cheesecake. Or you can order it to her house, or give her a gift card for her birthday. Yeah. So I feel like that's actually a really easy way to do things, is just writing things down like as you live life. And when they express interest in something, just write down things about people.
Yeah, I love doing that. It's so fun.
I think another thing that is like a grand scheme of life kind of idea is the more secure you are in yourself, the more you will want to help other people. And I've heard this in just full circle business books and like self-help books and talks and stuff like that about, or from successful people, wealthy people. It's almost like a pyramid, and as you become like better, it's like success, or like monetary success was the example in what I was reading, but just in life at all, it's like a pyramid of like success and like stability, self-esteem, like how comfortable you are, how secure you are in your life, and like how close you are to like your peak happiness. It's a pyramid. So at the bottom, there's like, wait, I'm doing like the Illuminati symbol right now. But at the bottom, there's like all these people, and they're all kind of like fighting to get up the pyramid. And like the higher you go, the closer you are to your peak happiness. There's sadly like less and less people up there.
Yeah.
So it's not as much of a fight. Like you're not at the top of the pyramid trying to like fight off all these people because you're the only one there. Or there's like 3 people there with you. You don't feel the need to like knock them off. In fact, you're like, I'm kind of bored. Come up here with me. It's so great,
Yeah.
Especially if it's like your happiness. You're like, yes, be happy with me. This is great. You don't see people as a competition. And I feel like that's how it is in life too. Like when I was struggling with friendships years ago, I was like, oh, they're so annoying. Like I wouldn't wish success on them because I'm like, I don't have that for myself. But then the more secure you are in your own life, and when you're on your own path, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing because they're not on your path.
Yeah.
So like there's like a proverb or something that is like there's 100 or 1,000 paths up the mountain, and it doesn't matter where anyone else is because they're not on yours. Like yours is different, and you don't have to like knock anyone else off because they're not your competition.
Yeah, because no one is.
Yes.
But yourself.
No, it's really true.
Like when you're secure with yourself and the things you have, you notice what you don't have less. Because you...
Wow. That's such a good point.
Should I write a book?
Yes.
That one of your billionaire friends will read.
My billionaire friends. Yes.
We're the billionaire friends, actually.
Ethical.
Because you might be at the top and have $1 million. Actually, that's not even... You might have $1 billion.
In this economy, $1 million ain't all that much.
And you might have friends and the best condo in Manhattan, but maybe you are single and all your friends are married. And all you think about is what you don't have, which is that one thing. But then you look around and you're like, but I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
It's such a dumb example.
It's not dumb.
But like, you know what I mean? Like you're only focused on what you don't have, even when you have all these other amazing things.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
But it's more like...
That was so basic though.
No, I think there's 2 sides to it. And it's not even about focusing on what you don't have. I think that actually reveals what you truly want and what would bring you to your peak happiness. So you could have all these physical things and you could still be grateful for them. But if what you actually feel that you're missing in life is genuine friendships, like you don't have to be jealous of other people. You don't have to like try to tear other people down.
Right.
Focus on building that thing that you feel you're lacking.
Right.
And then that security will come, and that will help you like build other people up in turn. So I also saw another quote that's like, your jealousy is an opportunity to show you what you truly want. And I think that that is interesting because I feel that I can be a jealous person, but I don't really like using the word jealous because I almost feel like when you're jealous, there's a connotation that you want to take it away from them, but I don't want to take it away from them. An example would be like, let's say I want to be an actor. I'm jealous of Anne Hathaway. Like,
same.
If she's like my number one like goal, like my celebrity crush, whatever, I'm so jealous of her. I want to be where she is. I don't want to take it away from her. I want her to have it too. She's amazing. She's wonderful. I think. I don't know. I shouldn't have used someone I know nothing about. Nicki Minaj. If I want to be a rapper, if I want to be the next rapper, it would be easy to be like, I'm so jealous of Nicki Minaj. But no, she's my queen. So is jealous the right word? I want what she has. I would love to have that much success, but I don't want to take it away from her. I want us both to have it. So is that jealousy? I don't know.
I
feel like we can like label it as jealousy.
I feel like it is jealousy, but there's nuance to jealousy.
So when I say I'm jealous of people, I'm like, I am jealous of you, but I don't want to take it from you.
Right.
You know, that's how I see it. So
like, I want you to keep what you have, but I also want me to have that.
Exactly.
If not better, let's go.
Exactly. So I think that it's okay to like be jealous, but just evaluate what is that thing that you actually want and how can you work towards it in your own life. And I feel like once you get to that peak happiness, all these other things will follow.
But do you think that peak happiness actually exists?
No, I think it's a journey.
Like, don't you think that like you could be at the top, have $1 million, have the dream relationship, the dream friendships, like, but you're always gonna have one thing you don't have? Or are there people that have it all? Like, I don't know.
So I don't think it's about having it all though. Like,
or what that means to you, I should say.
Exactly. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, if you ask people, are you happy like in life? If the answer is yes, like that's what I mean by peak happiness. And do you feel fulfilled in your life? Like right now, I would say yes, because I have so many good friends. I mean, so many, like, you know, as many as I need. I don't want to say like I have like thousands of friends, but like, yes, I'm happy in my job. I'm happy in my, like, this podcast makes me so happy. It makes me feel fulfilled. I'm happy in my relationship, my family, like all these things come together. Sure, there's things that make me unhappy on like a daily basis. Sorry, not on a daily basis. That sounded so negative. I meant like on the day to day.
Yeah.
I can think of something that upset me yesterday, today, whatever. But overall, I am happy in life. And I feel like that is helping me like be more generous, because I now feel like, what are the things I can donate? Where can I donate them to like people that need them? What are the things I can help my friends with? Like, I don't see people as competition in my life. Like, I don't see the people that I know as like competition, because I feel secure and like happy in myself.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And also what leads you to like your peak happiness changes.
Yes, that's so
profound. You can have your peak happiness right now and be single and still be like what today's peak happiness is, or this month or this year's, this phase peak happiness.
Yeah.
But then maybe the next phase, it's achieved by something else, and it's achieved by getting into a relationship and finding love. But I think that is okay. Like it can always change. And also, I do think that you can find peak happiness and still feel like you're missing certain things.
Right. Okay.
But I think that it's finding it and still feeling secure, knowing that you're missing those things.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I was just in therapy. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. No, I agree.
Yeah, I just think that like that is true with all things too. Like just trying to be like a happier person and like following the things that make you happy and that aren't draining. Like I feel like this is just to wrap up the entire episode and like everything we talked about, but all things in life go back to, are you secure? Like, do you feel happiness every day?
I feel like but it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no.
Too.
But I almost feel like that's why people say like, love yourself first.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of like looking in the mirror being like, I love myself, or like doing a nice thing for someone and being like, yeah, I love myself for that. But it's more like security, I think.
Yeah. No,
and I
agree.
feel like if you're like secure in but I guess no, you're right, because you don't have to be fully secure in order to like be a nice person.
I think what it is,
I think it helps though.
Yeah. Is like finding like, because for some people it's like clinically impossible to have their baseline be happy. Like people suffer from like depression and things like that. So it's, for me, it's more like finding joy.
Oh yeah.
And I think I've read somewhere like joy is different than happy. Like you should strive to find like pockets of joy in your life, not necessarily like I want to be happy every day.
That's a good point.
That's just not like realistic for a lot of people. Maybe for some people that's easy to just be happy every single day, but I think looking for like tiny joys and trying to like notice those throughout your day to day more so.
Yeah. I guess like maybe that's what I meant when I'm like, there's things that are like daily that I can be like, yeah, that's annoying. Like, no, I'm not happy 24/7. I just mean like in the grand scheme of life. But no, I get what you mean too. Like how not everyone's baseline is like neutral.
Right. Pockets of joy.
Yeah, I guess I don't know exactly what like true happiness is, but I do just think that like what I value in life is relationships and like creativity. And I just feel that once I became like more secure in relationships and how I let out my creativity, I do feel like it's made me like a happier person overall. And it has inspired me to build people up like way more. Like you don't need to be secure. Like there are probably a lot of people that are mentally struggling and wouldn't say they're happy in life and are insecure, but still love to do all the things that that person said and like build people up, drop things off at the door. Like finding like happiness and security, it's not the only way, but I just think that it helps. And I think that getting past the point of like seeing people as competition helps a lot. And I just think for me, security and joy is what helped me to not see people as competition. Hey guys, it's Kelee. I'm jumping in while editing because I wanted to clarify what I just said. I feel like when I described that, I made it seem like, oh, I have it all, so now I'm secure. I think what I meant is I don't think you need to have all the things that you want in order to feel secure in them. For example, if you want a relationship but you're single, if you want better friends but you haven't found them yet. I think if you want those things, you can find the security or joy that I'm referring to in the fact that you're not settling, you're not with the wrong person, you're still putting yourself out there to meet people, you're not throwing yourself into situations that don't serve you, you're not begging people to be friends with you. And I think that you can still feel let down sometimes if those connections or whatever you want isn't coming, and that's natural. But I think what's important is knowing that you're working towards what you want, not necessarily that you have every single thing you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's fine too. But I think you can recognize what you don't want and recognize what is not serving you, whether it's relationships, jobs, friendships, etc. And of course, there are people in life that are insecure or they aren't in that state of joy or security at this current moment, and they're still able to build people up and not see people as competition. This is just one thing that I think helped me on my journey, which obviously I'm still on. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I'm still figuring it out. Okay, love you. Bye.
Yeah.
It's like that quote that's like, be friends with people that say your name in a room full of opportunities, even when you're not there. Like that quote, that sounds so cheesy, but yeah.
Huh.
I do feel like the people that do that and the people whose name you say, you don't see them as competition.
Yeah.
And like, how do you get to that point of like not seeing people as competition? Yeah.
I don't know.
That's just life, I guess.
That's just life. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have all the answers. Just
Not
99% of them.
Give it a couple more episodes. We'll get there.
Give it a couple more episodes. Yes. So true. Yeah. It is hard too to like change your habits. Like this is a really interesting question about the like, how do I become more intentional and like be a better friend to people, be more thoughtful? This is so annoying. But I kind of think the only way to do it is just to do it.
Do it. I was going to say, I mean, I'm not trying to like act like I was a horrible friend, but I was not the friend I feel like I am now, like in my teenage, early 20s years.
Yeah.
But you just like, if you want to be a better friend, be a better friend.
Yes.
Like show up for people when it's not convenient, or like go out of your way to ask someone how they are, or all these other little things. Like just do it.
Yeah. And I also think when it was like our first thing that we said on this topic, writing things down. Like if you're a person that is forgetful or busy, set a reminder in your phone. Like it sounds so stupid and like corny, but yeah, start writing down all the things your friends like when they say it. It's not weird. And I think a lot of people would be quick to be like, well, you can't just remember what your friend likes. Clearly, you don't care about them. Not everyone's brain works like that. Like, it's okay to be forgetful. Just set an alarm that says text friend. Like what's a time that you have more free time? Is it like Thursdays at 4:00? Is that when you have a break on your schedule or something? Set a reminder that says text friend heart, and it goes off every week at the same time. Text a different friend. Just be like, hey, thinking about you, if that's what you need to do. Also, whenever you think about it, just do it. I had a friend that would be like, I'm so bad at asking people to hang out. Like, I just never think of it. And our other friend's like, oh, well, just do it right now. Like, text her right now. Like, you're thinking about her now. Just ask her to hang out right now.
Right.
She's like, oh, no, like, I don't want to. Like, don't use, I'm so bad at it, so I can't do it as the excuse. Just do it. You're never going to get good at it by saying, I'm bad, I can't do it.
Or just accept that you're bad at it and then don't be upset about it.
Full circle. Make any decision you want, but don't fucking complain when you don't get the outcome that you think you're gonna get.
That is full circle.
True.
Oh gosh, okay.
Maybe we just need to be more like driven.
Yeah.
To like actually do I guess like that's what it is. It's like if you have an idea of doing something, do it, even if it's not perfect.
If you take away one thing from this episode, it should be that.
Yeah.
Just do it. That thing you've been thinking of, do it right now.
Wow, that's such a good
Unless it's a bad thing.
Yeah, unless it's bad.
Unless it's unethical or illegal.
Right, yeah.
Then I did not say that.
Don't break the law, but go for your dreams as long as they will not hurt anyone and
text an old friend.
Peace. Yeah, text friends.
Etc., etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, just take opportunities. This will be the last thing I say.
Yeah.
If people ask you to hang out, just go, Yeah. Put yourself out there. Have more fun. Do more activities.
Say
Whenever
yes.
you can. Say yes. Yeah.
Say yes.
Say yes to fun opportunities that maybe you were scared about. Take a risk.
Say yes to yourself.
Yeah. And also, if you
yourself.
don't have fun on them, like, don't let it get you down.
We just gave you 100 New Year's resolutions, okay? Pick one.
Yeah, pick one.
I loved it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well,
that was deep.
I fear listening back because I don't know what I just said.
Same, actually.
I feel like I went into I don't even know what I went into. I went into something.
I think we channeled our innermost, highest selves.
I hope that's not my highest self. Maybe my highest self of the day.
Yeah. Of the day. It only gets better from here.
Yeah, true.
Here's to 2024.
Oh my God. Wow. 2024.
Cheers.
Crazy. Yeah. Let's clink these. You can have that and I'll have this. She hit my hand. Break up with your bad friends.
That should be your clickbait title.
Yes, it should be.
Okay, love ya.
Love you. Happy 2024. Tell us your New Year's resolutions. And if you want to hear us talk about anything else, tell us.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening to our podcast. I love you.
I love you too.
We appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one in 2024.
Bye. Bye.